All right, guys and girls. It is 10:30, and good morning, Jesse. Good morning, everyone.
Good
It's
morning.
10:30. What are you guys most excited about today that was on the agenda, or if you have something else that you're excited about, now is the time to let me know. Anybody want to anything they wanted me to hit on first, or hit hardest, or anything else?
The
Feel free.
buyer agreement.
Pardon me?
The buyer agreement.
Buyer's agreement. Yes, I've
Yeah.
gotten a lot of questions about that lately. Yes.
Yeah.
If you can't talk, you can put it in chat, whatever you want.
Okay.
No, not you. Hang on, I got that.
Okay.
Ryan, and the way to use it as a rental too, please.
What the
For
buyer brokerage agreement for rentals? Okay. And what is happening on rentals, Martha Elena? If you have someone that you've been working with and they decide to go on their own,
yes.
they find something.
Sometimes because they can see the sign in front of the door, and then they go around and go directly. So nothing that I can cover, and spend too much time, gas, and it's not enough money for the rentals.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it. It's the same form. There's just a different thing to click at that one part. It's just a different thing to put in there. I will tell you, you're going to have a hard time collecting from these folks. But a good thing is nobody's out there trying to steal your tenants because they're paying. So lots of pain and not much money. So nobody's out there trying to steal them, but they will go do stuff on their own. And then you've got to pursue them for $300 or whatever. I mean, that's the tough part about working with them, you know. But we'll discuss that. We'll go through the buyer brokerage agreement and we'll discuss that.
Because, for example, I have already, I have a client that already, they are sending an application to the realtor. So I know that you explained to me about for rentals, and I have it, but how can I present? So do I have to send it to the listing agent in order to charge the fee, my fee, at the application process when they are gonna sign the lease, or how I handle that?
Well, and that's something to discuss, the difference between the lease fee and the referral fee. Is that what is? I think a lot of people get confused with that, and it is confusing. But
No. Not for the listing, for the MLS. I understand that the lease fee and the
okay.
But
referral fee.
I'm gonna charge on my side for me, for my work. I'm gonna charge a fee.
Okay.
So how can I present? Do I have to request a check for Florida Realty Investment directly?
So you want to do a retainer?
Yes, something like that.
Okay.
And I explained the client at the beginning.
Okay, so you want to charge your client $500 to do all the work and find the place for them.
250, yes.
Or whatever it is. Okay. All right, that's on there as well. We'll go through that.
Okay.
It's on the form.
I would think you want that up front, wouldn't you?
Pardon me?
Wouldn't you want that money up front?
Yeah, and if you do that, then you send it in to us, and they flat out owe it. I mean, we can disperse the money if that's the case. It's not a retainer. We don't do retainers. We don't have interest-free escrow accounts for retainers and stuff like that. We don't want to do retainers. If they're just paying you a flat fee for your real estate services, that is completely legal. Guys, you guys can go out and advise people, consult people, do all that stuff for $500, $5 million, whatever it is you can get paid. That is legitimate income, and it has to go through your brokerage, but it's legitimate income. So if you're charging $250 just to drive them around town, just like you guys will charge each other sometimes to do showings or whatever, that's perfectly legitimate. Okay, so just charge them. Money comes through us. We give it out to you, typically at a 90% rate. Okay. Meeting everyone. All right. Any other things that you saw my email this morning? I'm sure you were excited and you thought, this is what I really want to talk about. So what was it? Besides, I've got a couple of buyer brokerage agreements. What else? Whether you like it or not, I'm going through the listing agreement because I'm getting irritated with some of it. So what else? Anything else?
Ryan, I have a question, please.
Yes.
Ryan, the broker agreement that you sent, the buyer brokerage, is there a specific transaction that we have to use, or for every transaction we have to get that filled?
Oh, no, no, not every transaction. You're working with that client. If you make 100 offers, it's all off that same sheet.
Okay.
You don't get to sign them one every time you do one. No.
Okay, so it's just a one-time thing with one buyer, and you just, or with the every, if it is on every
No, it's that buyer for a set period of time.
Oh, okay.
All right. So if you make one offer or a million offers, it's still good.
So it's just for your thing, and you just keep it in your file.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So, but it is a mandatory that we get that filled?
it's not mandatory, but it's mandatory if you don't want to get people go around you and you get cut out of deals. And the number one reason for that, and everyone on here who has experience, and you guys can all give me a nod if this has happened to you. You show someone 5 or 10 houses and they call you and say, oh man, we really appreciate all your work, Natalie, but we found something on our own.
Yeah, that's true.
That's happened to everybody on this call. So we found something on our own means Tammy sold them something, by the way. They didn't find something on their own. They didn't stumble into something. So a buyer brokerage agreement, it dissuades other realtors, and I'll do this when we get more into it. It dissuades other realtors from stealing your client, because one of the first things you ask people, and all of you can nod along if this is how you do it, and I know some of you do it a little bit differently, but do you have a realtor? And they're going to give you usually and you say, have you signed anything with them? And they're going to say yes or no. And if they say no, it's a green light. If they say yes, for a lot of people, it's still a green light. You say, well, you need to cancel with them and copy me on it. And, if you want to work with me, are you happy with them? You can still do that. But having that agreement signed is a way to dissuade that kind of stuff. Okay.
Okay. And Ryan, one more question I have, like you listed like the property management. So tell me one thing, if it is my husband's property and I'm not in it, can I take care of it or no?
Absolutely. Yes. You can take care of your husband's property. I think I went through this a little bit last week, guys. Yes, you can manage your own property. That your husband and you, that's the same. You can manage your own properties. You can manage properties for clients for free. You just can't get paid for managing properties without going to the brokerage.
Oh, so my husband cannot pay me.
Whatever you guys do at your house is your business.
Even if I'm not on the property, it is okay to manage it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if your husband, your own property, that's I'm stepping on a limb. If he wants to pay you, then he can do it through the brokerage and we'll keep 10% of it. But it seems like he could just, slip you $100 under the table without anybody noticing.
Okay.
But that's y'all's business. I don't know.
Listing agreement, mistake. Listing agreement.
Okay, we're gonna do that. Listing agreement.
You say that on the email.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna go over it. So I'm gonna do that first. I've already got it pulled up, so I'm gonna do that first. Any other questions or things you guys want to discuss while we're doing this? Any parts of the listing agreement or the buyer brokerage agreement that bother you guys or give you concern or don't understand? No? Okay. So nothing specific. So we'll just do it. Let me do a screen share. All right. So I won't be able to see you guys. So please speak up if you have questions. All right. So here we are. You guys are seeing this? This is, everybody sees transaction desk? Okay, good. So I typed, I'm going to go from the very beginning. I typed exclusive in here so I can find the form. If you pull up your template, there should be, if you're a listing agent, you should have a listing template for this that has this on here. But use exclusive, sorry, that's exclusive buyer broker. We're going to do that later. Exclusive right of sale listing agreement transaction broker. guys, and you guys can nod along to this to each other if you want. I can only see a couple of you, but you have run into other FRI agents out there, haven't you? They have, any of you guys who've done business have done business. If you've been here more than a couple of years, you've done business with other FRI agents and you have run into other agents. So use the transaction broker form so you don't have that awkward conversation later where you have to let them know, look, I know you told me all your business, but now I've got to forget that I know it. And I don't really represent you anymore because it's, as a brokerage, we represent both sides. So I don't have the same fiduciary duties I had before. So I'm just doing the standalone form, not adding to existing transaction because I'm just doing this for you guys. I'm doing a blank one. All right. Buyer, there's Bob Seller. We've already got him in. And I knew Jane would be on there. And Florida Realty Investments. Okay, this first part we want to talk about, that part is plain and simple. And yes, you sign this, the broker does not have to sign it. You're an agent of the brokerage. You sign this form at the bottom and initial each page. Beginning, now I just went through this yesterday with somebody. That's why we're going to harp on it today. Because I went through yesterday with someone who should have already had an MLS exclusion, but they didn't know that because they thought that the date that the people signed it here was the date they had to put in here. So they put that date of last Wednesday or whatever that somebody signed this. So am I going to put today's date on this if someone's going to sign it today? Anybody know? Not necessarily. Not if I don't have pictures yet. Not if they're not ready yet. They got to do the carpet. They got to do whatever. I'm going to go ahead and list it for when we think it's going to be ready and then add a couple of days. Okay. I can always do an exclusion if I want, list it starting today, what I want, but I'd rather at least, I don't care if it's ready to go today. I'm going to get pictures by Friday and I'm going to have it on the internet by whatever day. And I might probably wait till next Wednesday or Thursday to put it on the internet, right? Because I want it to be hot for the weekend. And right now, if you guys, if you're doing things, and I know it's a seller's market, so it's a little bit different. And I saw people complain about this on Facebook, that somebody put a property on Wednesday and said, we're not deciding until Sunday night with all the offers we get through Saturday, right? And it made somebody mad because they wanted to make an offer and move on or whatever. But that's the right thing to do for your sellers right now in a lot of cases. People, your job as a listing agent is to do what's right for your sellers. So I'm either going to rush this on the internet today, but I don't have pictures yet. So I'm going to probably do it next week if I can, or whenever it is that I want to put this on here, whatever my strategy is, depending on how hot the house is going to be, et cetera. That's when I want this listing to start. The day I'm going to be ready to put it on MLS, because I've got to have it on within how many hours?
1 day.
Right, 24 hours. So I've got to have it on. So let's go ahead and make it for next, for then, and then we'll make it run for 6 months, right? Or 3 months or 12 months. Doesn't really matter right now because things are selling so fast. My computer's not working fast, so there it goes.
How many days do we have in order to start the listing agreement?
Doesn't matter. I can do a listing agreement right now to list your house in December.
I have
say, you know, look, I'm moving out in December. I want you to list my house. I'll go ahead and sign the agreement now. Fine. I could put December 31st on here if I wanted to. Okay. Doesn't matter. We're going to put the right dates that we signed at the bottom, but the date the listing starts is whenever the listing starts. Okay. Street address, legal description, this will all, you know, it depends on how you do it, but it'll all fill in. Property is or currently not occupied by a tenant. If the homeowner lives there, you guys have confusion with this. Homeowner is not a tenant. So if the homeowner still lives there, it is not currently occupied by a tenant. The only point of this is they're looking for a date the lease expires. Okay. Maybe this lease expires 3/31. So in that case, I'm going to go up here and I'm not going to list this thing until a week after the tenants move out because I don't want, I've got to go in there and get it cleaned and take pictures and do all that stuff, right? So that would be a reason for listing it later too. Okay.
Ryan, you're saying not to start the listing agreement until the day that you plan on putting on the MLS?
Or the day before, but don't start it today if you're not going to have pictures till Saturday. Right.
I mean, I use the MLS exclusion form for the day I'm going to.
If you want to do that, you can.
Gotcha. Okay.
This is a way to not do that.
Okay.
I just don't want them to, like, somebody knock on their door. You know, like I got a listing that's coming in 4 weeks and he's already had a Keller Williams agent knock on his door. I don't want him to flip over and hire them just because it's not on the MLS. So I've already got him under an agreement.
Okay, fair enough. You can do that as well. The price goes here. We're going to take cash, conventional, VA, FHA, whatever they're taking, right? Let's go down to, okay, this part, I'm not going to go through this word for word. We've been through this before. Display the property on the internet, accept the street address. Don't click that unless they don't want their street address on there. Seller does not occupy, do not click that unless they really don't want you to put it on MLS or anything. And then you'll do the MLS exclusion form with it. Use a lockbox system, show the property. If that applies, whatever. I typically withhold all offers once the seller accepts a sales contract for the property. But you don't have to. If you want to keep it going, you can. Does not authorize an automated estimate of the market value of the listing. Like that's a Zestimate or something like that. If you've seen the Zestimate or whatever any kind of estimates of the property and you think that's not high enough, do that. And I don't ever allow third parties to write comments because they never write anything good, but that's up to you guys if you want. But nobody's ever said this is the best property ever. We put in an offer. We can't wait to live there. They always say the backyard's too small, bad neighborhood, whatever it is. The road noise killed it. It was great otherwise, whatever it is. They're going to say something negative. That's why they didn't buy it. None goes here. Make sure that your sellers have certifies and represents the seller knows of no such material facts other than the following, unless they tell you something that is, they disclose something to you, none goes there. Okay, this part I really want to get to. This is the hard part for you guys. Whatever your percentage is here, 6% of the total price plus 350 if you're charging the fee, or 175 or whatever your fee is with us. Okay, don't put or 350 here, which somebody did recently. Don't do that, because that means they're going to pay 6% plus 350, or they're just going to pay 350. Okay, read the stuff, guys, and try to understand. If you're going to charge them a flat fee, if you say, you know what, I'll put your house on the market and I'm just going to charge you a total of 10 grand that I'll split with the other side. I haven't seen you guys doing that. Some people have done it before where they just offer 5 grand for buyer side, whatever. You can do that. That's where to do it. Okay, but this is the 6% plus the 350 if you want to charge that, or you could use the affiliated business disclosure if you want to charge the 350 there or the 175 there. But that's how you do it. Okay. If you're doing if an option, if they end up leasing it, whatever it is, you can use that there. Now there's a separate listing agreement for a lease. Okay. Some people put 60, 90, 120 here. That is that's the tail on the end of this thing. If someone cancels it and they go back and sell it to someone that you were working with, then you get paid still for up to 60 days of them going under contract after that. Retaining deposits. Yes.
If you're helping a friend find a tenant and you are going to put an MLS, you still need this listing agreement with 0 for compensation.
There's an exclusive right to lease.
Okay.
There's a different form.
Okay. But I would be compensated, but I still would do that, correct? Get the agreement to lease it. If I was helping somebody find a tenant,
right,
and I was going to list on the MLS, I would still do an exclusive right to list for the lease.
Yes, you need to if you're going to put on MLS.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Retain deposits. You guys have actually been doing some of this. I had somebody retain a deposit. Good job. I think they actually wrote 50% in here. I think that the client would probably appreciate it more if you write it in here instead of saying, oh, we left it blank and I got 50%. You know what I mean? If you want 50% of their deposit, I have never done that personally, but some people do. Good on you. And here's where the other part is. So this is where the other part of the thing is. So, because what I have is people go, oh, 3 for me and 3 for them. No, 6% is the total compensation. And this is where the seller allows you to share your cooperate with other broker, except when it's not in the seller's best interest, to offer compensation in the amount of how much ever you're going to do. Now, is it legal to do 2.5% here, even though you did 6 up there? Absolutely. Is it legal to do 1% here, $1 here, whatever? It's probably legal, not going to be very acceptable in the community. So this is where you put 3% or 2.5 or whatever it is. Whether you do half, you don't have to do half, but that's it. Okay. Or you could offer them money. And this is the single agent transaction broker and the no brokerage relationship. Some people do the same here. Some people do different for this guy and they just do, for no brokerage relationship, they'll do 0 or they'll do 1% or whatever it is. I don't care what you guys do. But you guys understand that it is assumed that you're a transaction broker unless it's been specified otherwise, like with a buyer brokerage agreement as a single agent. Okay. Or if you have one, buyer brokerage agreement as a no relationship.
Hey, yeah, can you explain the no relationship?
No, I don't know why people do it. So to be frank with you, it is, yeah, there's actual form and we'll look at it. There's a form for no brokerage relationship. There is there are duties that you don't have under that. When is it useful? I'm not sure. I don't know why it exists. And that's something we'll ask Nishad next time or a lawyer next time they're on. Because I really don't know the benefit of it, other than you don't have any duties, but you still have the duty to act fairly responsibly and honestly and all that stuff. So I'm not sure. Cancellation fee, guys, put all your expenses and stuff in here. Put your photography, whatever it is you want to be reimbursed for, all the money that you spend doing this, if you want to. Otherwise, put 0. But if you're going to spend money on a photographer and all that, that's the point of the cancellation fee. And that's really all I wanted to discuss with you guys. If you're going to do if you're going to say, if I sell this property myself, don't put if the brokerage does. Say if Tammy Pipkin is, if I, Tammy Pipkin, am the represent both sides, then I'll do it for 4% or whatever. If you're going to do that, make sure you specify yourself and not Florida Realty Investments, because if Tammy has a listing and Dalton brings the buyer, then you guys could technically be down to 4%. Okay. Everybody got that? But this is where if you write, if I personally do it. Okay. If you want to give that thing, I don't think a lot of people are doing that anymore. Not as popular as it used to be. It used to be on almost every listing agreement. Now it's very rare. Any questions on the listing agreement? And I mean, this was a quick overview because I just wanted to point out some places where we're having trouble. Everybody good on that? I can't see if you're putting in the box. I can't see it.
Yes, I'm good too.
Yeah, Cynthia.
Yes, I was making some mistakes before, and I'm glad you clarified that. I was not putting the 350.
Well, you can do the 350, or you can do it by the affiliated business disclosure. But if you, but it's a good place to do it on here, right?
Mm-hmm. And the non-brokerage, I think it would be a non-brokerage relationship if you are working in the same transaction as a single agent. And then you would have to be a no brokerage relationship to the other party, right? I
What do you mean
assume
by that?
that's when you use the non-brokerage relationship. Is that if you are working as a single agent for one party in the same transaction, and so you would have to be a no brokerage relationship with the other party.
Okay.
I think.
Fair enough.
Okay.
But why would that be on the MLS then to pay them less? I mean, it would be yourself. So I don't know. Okay. Let's go to the buyer brokerage agreement. Everybody good on that then?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to the buyer brokerage agreement. I'm gonna type exclusive in here again.
Ryan, good morning. This is Juliana. I actually do have a quick question. In the case of a sell by owner, and you want to represent your buyer, and the sell by owner decides that he wants to be represented by you as well, do you make them sign a listing agreement?
If he says that he wants to be represented by you, yes. Yes.
Okay.
I thought you were going somewhere else with that, where we're going to do
No.
I thought you were going to ask about a commission agreement. But no, if he wants to be represented by you, then he'll sign whatever you put in front of him. And so whatever you tell him is necessary, and it is necessary to get a listing agreement for that.
Okay.
And you'll do it very obviously as a transaction broker. Okay. So
yes,
use that same form, which was the ERS 18TB.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
And in the case they don't want to be represented by you, they're on their own, right?
Commission. Yep. And you sign a commission agreement.
And you just sign a commission agreement. Okay,
And,
perfect. Thank you very much.
right. All right. Let's do exclusive buyer brokerage agreement, transaction broker. All right. Parties. Put the parties' names in here, your name here with FRI here. Okay. Self-explanatory. Begin on the whatever date you want it to begin. That will typically be the day that you have them sign it, right? Because there's nothing to worry about here. And we'll terminate on 11/59 of the whatever 6 months from now. Okay. Or whatever date you get them to agree to, but I would ask for 6 months. Guys, this form, the reason I want to go over this with you guys, not only to show you what to put where, because it's pretty self-explanatory, but the way to use it. And the way to use this is that I'm committing to you for this term, not you're committing to me. I'm committing, Tammy, I am committing to help you and your family find the home of your dreams. And I am going to work for you day and night for the next 6 months on this. Not you guys can't find some better deal with a better agent out there because, or this locks you in with me. Don't say stuff like that. This locks me in with you. I'm the one that's going to be doing all the work while you're sitting back saying, yeah, I like that. No, I don't like that. Right. Yeah. I'll meet you over there, I guess, on Saturday. Right. It's going to be at your convenience, not at my convenience. There's things I'd rather be doing. This is for your dream house. And I'm going to help you for 6 months. I'm dedicating myself to finding you guys the house of your dreams. This is not a form. You guys are so scared of this form because you think you're the one doing the selling and you're begging, please, please sign with me and don't go see other people. How does that work in relationships? Please date me and don't see other people. People, that's not what people want. That's not what people want. Nobody wants to sign on for 6 months of that, right? So do it, present it in a way that is truthful, that I'm going to represent you. I'm going to make sure you guys find the home of your dreams. And to prove that I've been listening to you guys all this time, you guys wanted a single family, single family residence, type it out, single family residence. You didn't want or a townhome, whatever they said, right? Or townhome. Do it nicely, not the way I'm doing it right now. And you wanted it in the following zip codes or towns. In the price ranges here that you were pre-qual, buyer has been pre-approved by whatever mortgage, ABC mortgage. And for the amount of $399, right? That's probably not going to autofill. You've been approved for $399. You want to be in Seminole County. Probably more specific, certain zip codes, but you guys get the idea. The price range that you guys wanted to buy was $350 to $400. No, it's not letting me do comments. Okay. Oops, but I messed up. 350 to good 400. All right. So that's the price range you guys wanted to do. Preferred terms and conditions. You guys don't want to move in till the end of May, and you guys blah blah blah, right? So this is where you start talking about what the preferred terms and conditions were. And this is where I would say, you guys mentioned to me you wanted to go there for the good schools. This is where you spill back to them what they told you. What you're doing here is showing them that you're listening and that they're the important thing. What do people think about realtors? People think that realtors are only in it for the commission, right? Hit and quit, get the money and go. That's what they think you're there for. But you're going to prove to them at least that you're listening to them and that you care about what they wanted. You wanted a big backyard. You wanted to be in a great school district. You wanted to be this, you wanted to do that. You wanted to be near your mom. So you wanted to be within 10 minutes of XYZ, right? Whatever it is they wanted and they told you, prove to them that you listened. you guys do that all the time in your personal relationships. Even if you're not listening closely, you did pick up on something that he or she said, and you can repeat it back to them to prove that you were listening. That's all that you're wanting to do here. Okay. Broker's obligations. A big thing of broker's obligations that you go through with them line by line, right? Fair housing. Don't ask me to break any laws for fair housing. Buyer understands who may want to, that you may be working with other people want to buy the same property. You can tell them how often that happens. It's not very often, but you can tell them, you know, I won't violate any of your trust if I do. I am a very busy realtor. You're lucky to have me committing to you. You don't say those words, but you're lucky to have me committing to you for 6 months. You know, I'm very busy, but I am going to be committed to you guys for 6 months until we find, you know, up to 6 months. Hopefully it'll be 30 days, but until we find the house of your dreams. Buyer's obligations. Go through that with them. Retainer. Okay, so you'd asked. We mentioned retainer. We don't want you guys doing this. We're supposed to keep that in a separate account, not touch it, etc. We're not looking to open an account for $500, so you can have a retainer for these people. But if you want to get fees, you can. Okay. And here's where compensation comes in. Now, some of you, including at least one of you on this call, has used this very wisely to make sure that they get paid at closing. This is where you say, you know, 3%, and you explain that it's typically paid by the seller, blah, 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 blah. But if they want to buy a house that's only offering $1 compensation, like one that somebody recently posted on Facebook, they're offering 1% or $1. You let them know before you show it that, look, if you guys like this one, they're not offering to pay me 3%. Okay. And if you guys want to do this and take 2.5% and not bother them for the other half, I think that's what a lot of you would do. That's fine, but explain to them that these people are doing this. Or 3% plus 175 or 350, whichever program you're on. Okay. So that's what you would do.
Question, Ryan.
Yes.
What about if I say the buyer, my commission is 3%, and if the listing says 2.5, they are able to pay the 0.5?
Yeah, they're obligated to, unless you let them off the hook. But you can tell them, look, we're going to go look at 2 condos in the same building today. One of them pays the 3% that we've agreed to, and the other one only pays 2.5%. So please keep that in mind when you're making your offer. Okay.
Or ask the seller to give your buyer a 0.005% credit towards closing.
I told you somebody on here has done something like that, and successfully.
I do it a lot.
We did get threatened one time, but it was.
But in these multiple offer situations, are you getting that? Because if you ask for closing costs and you're in a multiple offer situation, I don't know that you'd get that.
I lost on Sunday. We weren't even top 3. We were 10 grand over, but I only asked for $1,000. But I knew it was probably a stretch to get it anyways because we were FHA.
Yeah.
Dalton had a very successful one right before this whole seller's crazy market started. I would say a couple of months right before it got like this multiple offers everywhere. It was a pretty balanced market when he did one very successfully.
They had an attorney come after us for that one.
We got what?
They had an attorney reach out to us on that one.
Yeah. I had to tussle with an attorney, and they dropped it because they didn't have a case. So anyway, that's how you do this, guys. And yes, so if it's only offering 2.5, you can do that. Now, most of you guys aren't going to do that, and that's fine because 2.5 has unfortunately become an industry standard along with 3. So you guys aren't doing a lot of arguing about that, but you will see stuff out there for 1% and I literally saw one for $100 or $1 on somebody posted on Facebook group. So there's stuff out there that you guys, let your clients know if you're not happy with the commission and they've agreed to this, that they need to pay. All right. Lease. If you're going to lease something, now this is what you asked about, I think, Martha Elena. Lease. This is where you do that. we don't charge a transaction fee on top of a lease. We do it 90% with you guys. So if they're going to lease and they're going to lease something for 2,000, you can put, you can do, if you want 1 month's rent, you can do 8.5% or whatever the total lease value for the year, whatever it is you want to do. But I would typically just put, if I know their rental budget is $1,500, I would just put $1,500. Okay. Fair enough.
So in that case, it's gonna put in the same line or 250.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I take this back on the retainer. I always think retainers as being refundable. You would ask Martha Elena, you can do $500 or what'd you say, 250? No, you do 250 here and will not be credited. The fee is not refundable and will not be credited. Okay. Or do you want it to be credited? You might want it to be credited where you get paid for it, but it's not refundable. The fee is not refundable here. So I'm sorry, I was mistaken about that. The fee is not refundable. Just this is where you put that. Okay.
The fee is not refundable.
Right.
Okay, let me.
It's line. It's, well, it doesn't say what line it is. Number 6, retainer.
And put will not be credited.
Yeah, I would put will not be credited because you're not going to take it out. If you also get a month's rent or something, you're not going to take it out of that, or half a month or whatever you might get for a lease fee.
But this is for a tenant, no.
Right. I understand. But you might get a lease fee or a referral fee. So you don't want it to take the place of that. You still want that money too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So put it will not be credited. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So there we go. Options, etc. Same deal with options. Protection period. If they this is important on here, guys, and I would put 60 days here. If they cancel with you, which all they have to do on here, buyer may terminate. Look, if you look at the next paragraph, anytime by written notice to broker, but will remain responsible for paying broker's compensation if from the early termination date to termination date plus protection period, if applicable, buyer contracts to acquire any property which prior to the early termination date was found by buyer or called to buyer's attention by broker or any other person. So whoever, doesn't matter, or any other person means whoever. Broker may terminate this agreement anytime with written notice to buyer, in which event buyer will be released from all further obligation of this contract. So this is putting the tail on this because when Tammy talks them out of, you sent them to Tammy's open house, and Tammy talks them out of using you and says, copy me on your cancellation of them. You still have 60 days that Tammy can't steal them on that particular house. Tammy can show them other houses, whatever. But if you sent them to that open house, you called it to their attention is all it says, then Tammy cannot sell them that open house. Okay, without paying you. All right. And that's the most important parts of this. Broker will act, brokerage relationship. Broker will act as a transaction broker, will deal honestly and fairly, will account for all funds, use skill, care, and diligence, all the stuff that we have to do. No fiduciary duty here that you would have with a single agent. All right. There's also one of these. I'm going to X out of here. There's also one of these that is for a, let's look at this again. No brokerage agreement. And maybe that'll shed more light on it at the end. Okay. No brokerage relationship notice. Florida law requires that real estate licensees have no brokerage relationship with a potential seller buyer, disclose their duties to seller and buyer. As a real estate licensee has no brokerage relationship to you, blank and its associates owe to you the following duties honestly and fairly, all known facts, and account for all funds entrusted to the licensee. So it's not much different. So there we are. That's why I'm not sure of the purpose of this. I'll find out. I'm not sure of the purpose of it. I see it all the time, but I don't know what it is. And I know you guys have some ideas, and maybe you're right. I haven't even looked at all of the ideas you guys might have about it, actually. Yes, there's a vacant land listing agreement and there's a vacant land contract. Do you have any commission from the small? Yeah, Kevin, you work that out with them. I'm gonna go back to this. Stop share. Yeah, Kevin, you work it out with the builder. A lot of builders will pay you a commission for bringing someone. So
I have I have a question. So I have a guy right now who did not want a new home in an HOA community. So we found a lot in St. Cloud. There's a diamond builder sign on the lot. So I contacted that guy, but he doesn't really own the lot. Somebody else owns the lot. And so Trustco Bank is going to do the loan for my buyer. And the buyer, I'm assuming, I'm trying to figure this out, will do a contract with the builder. I will have an agreement with the builder that he will pay me a commission, but I don't know, I don't know what my responsibility is or my liability is. It's a little, Trustco is probably going to have to buy the lot from this guy that owns it as part of the construction perm. So I'm kind of like, this seems funky, but if my guy would buy the lot outright, which he could, but it would exhaust his funds. It's 95,000. The total price is going to be 333. So, but I don't want to get into a mess or a problem with this situation.
Did you already work this out with the builder that they're going to pay you commission?
I upped it even. I got the guy to pay more. Yes, he's going to he wanted to only pay me 5, and so I upped the price with my buyer. Like, can you pay 333? So now I'm getting 8.
Okay, good. So what are you concerned about?
I wouldn't have any part of the contract, correct? Other
No.
than the contract.
The land contract, yes, but nothing else.
Well, what if the bank's handling buying the land from this guy in order to do the loan with the buyer?
You won't get paid till the house is done and sold.
Well, exactly, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I'm wondering my obligation. I don't really have an obligation to this guy because his relationship's going to be with the builder, correct?
Yeah, correct.
I just didn't know what I need to look out for the buyer.
Just check in with them and use your diligence. I mean, there's nothing really for you to do.
Okay.
It's very similar to if they were buying a new home build from Lennar.
Okay.
Just nothing for you. Not much.
So if he had issues with this buyer, it's really not my problem. I mean, if he had issues with this builder, it's really not my problem. He's built in the area. We see his houses that he's built, but
he's going to have issues with the builder because people have issues with their builder. So
that's exactly right, Ryan.
You can count on that. So
Tammy, here's something that I do with new home buyers. I really advocate for inspections.
You really what?
Advocate for their inspections. They always feel like, oh, it's a new home. What could go wrong? Literally 10 times the number of things could be wrong in a new home than in an existing home.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But this is so much better than a Lennar type deal because you're not going to have restricted access. They can go out there and walk it anytime. They're going to have consistent somewhere between 6 and 25 draws that they're going to pull. It depends on the bank, how often they pay draws. So the bank's going to send inspectors out there to look at it all the time to make sure the slab has been poured properly, the walls are coming up properly. And depending on how often they go out there, they'll be paying the builder 15 grand here, 30 grand there, 10 grand there as they go out, as the house goes up and up and up. Plus your people, if they live locally, they can go out and look at it anytime. If they don't live locally, now you're really going to be helpful to them because you're going to go out and video it for them or whatever and all that stuff. So it's a friendlier process, and they're gonna have problems with no matter who builds your house. You're not going to agree on everything.
Okay, one other question, back to the broker agreement. So these days we're getting a lot of calls from people, like I just got a call from somebody in Canada and they want to buy a 550 vacation home. So would I just have them sign that broker agreement via email and just, explain it to them and okay.
Yeah. You guys, your broker requires it. Let them know your broker requires it. Okay.
Lending on second homes just got hit and it's more difficult now. So maybe check with your lender on people buying second homes. Used to be 20% down, decent rates, but I think 2 weeks ago, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac changes the rules.
Wow. Okay.
Ryan, if I could real quick, something on the new builds where it's not like a typical builder where it's a custom built home being done. If you are going to go out and do pictures or videos or something like that for your client, do not do it during the day of working hours when there are workers there. If somebody from the county shows up, they will be looking for your information and you will have to be listed as one of the contractors. If you are not, then the builder will be fined heavily.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
didn't have this happen, but we built that $3.5 million place in Windermere a couple years ago. And I was out there quite a bit for that one. And the builder informed me of this. So
Politely,
one of the contractors wasn't happy I was on the property and I told him I didn't care. I didn't work for him. I worked for the buyer. So, and it got back to the builder himself and we had a little discussion about it. So I started going.
Okay. So you put him in his place, I'm sure, Mike.
No, I didn't. Well, the contractor, yeah, but the builder, we're a little more friendly with.
Okay. Well, good. No, thank you for that. Any other questions on that stuff?
Ryan, I have a
Yes.
question regarding the commission submission form, the commission disbursement form.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that would be a great one to go over with you guys too. Go
Do
ahead.
you have the form uploaded on your laptop?
I've got it.
It's in the FRI, or it's in paperless pipeline.
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Yeah, I know, but it's signed across, internal use only. So we fill that up and we submit it.
You upload it to your deal. I want to go through this real quickly with you guys too. Let's screen share again. If you're not interested in this, then you can do whatever you want. But oh, here we go. All right. So here we are. Closing date. This is the projected, guys. How soon? Who knows how soon? How long before a deal closes that you should be turning this in?
How much time before? I mean,
2 days.
suppose you
Whenever it's ready, whenever you've got all your ducks in a row.
Oh, love that answer. As soon as you get all your ducks in a row or all of your check marks done, except for your final settlement statement, would be great. You can turn it in even if you're waiting on something if you want.
Well, you need to make sure the appraisal's back, because if the price changes, then that totally ruins the form. So
Right.
you could do
And
it.
a lot of you guys do revise one. So within a week of closing is good because within a week of closing is good because that usually not much changes after that. A title company is going to, if the numbers don't add up because something changes, they're going to ask us for a revised one typically. Although we recently had one who just shorted us commission because of that and we got it figured out. But closing date, that's projected closing date. Of course, that changes, not the biggest deal in the world. Title company, ABC Title, closer name, Mark Smith, email, marksmith@ABC Title, whatever that is, right? We need that information, guys. That's how we send it out. Property address, 123 Oak Street, seller name, buyer name, your name goes here. Can you guys see my cursor? Okay.
Yep.
Your name goes here. Who you represented, seller or buyer, hopefully both. I don't know why one is a box and one's a check, but who cares? All right. Purchase price. I want to go through some numbers with you guys here. 400,000. Gross commission is not you and the other party. It's not all 6% or 5% or whatever. It is only your part. So let's say you got 3%. It's 12,000. It's only FRI's part. Okay. Did you give a realtor credit? If so, how much? No, we didn't. But if we did $1,500 here, then we put that in there. Okay. If we're taking it out here, then we're not taking it out up here, or we didn't already do it on the HUD. If we already did it on the HUD, then make sure that reflects that much. Is the transaction fee paid by buyer or seller? If so, how much? If they paid the $350, great. If they paid the $175, great. Whatever it is, total due to FRI. Okay, this is not our $350 or our $175. This is everybody's money. We're all FRI, so this is all the money. So in this case, it would be $12,350, right? Everybody understand that? Total due to FRI 12,350. If we did a seller credit here of, let's say we did 1350, so I can do the math, then this is going to be 11,000. Everybody got that? Everybody sees where I came to that. 12,000 minus plus 350 minus 1350 is 11,000. And then we would say 350 here, 175, how much ever it is. And the rest made payable, which in this case would be 10,650, right? Made payable to your name. If you split it with somebody, then you write the numbers here. That would be 5,325 if you did it evenly. 5,325 to Mike and 5,325 to Janet. Okay, everybody got that?
Yeah, Ryan, I have two questions on this, please.
Yes.
What is a realtor credit, and what if no one is, if the 350 is coming out of our pocket?
Oh, then you put 0 here. Let's get rid of both of them. Let's get rid of both of them for this example. Great job. In that case, this would be 12,000 still, right? Let's say you did this by yourself. Mike did it by himself. Okay, and don't just put Mike or Janet. Put your whole name. And 350, and so Mike would get 11,650. Somebody's going to pay that 350, not to be uncaring, but we don't care where it comes from. We just got to make our money. I don't care if you pay it or the client pays it. The reason we say we're 100%, we are fully 100%. We don't have any other fees or anything. We charge that fee to the client. It's meant to be paid by the client. If you pay it for them, that's very nice of you. Okay, but you're not supposed to. Okay, a realtor credit is when you guys get part of your commission back to make a deal go by. A lot of times it'll be because you got this guy, the buyer, who doesn't have enough money to make things work because something happened at the end, the appraisal came in low and you're going to kick in. Maybe the other agent on the other side kicks in. Maybe one of you dummies didn't put that the washer and dryer weren't going with the property, and so they assumed that they were, and you got to buy a washer and dryer at the closing table. Happens all the time. You guys love to buy washers and dryers. So that kind of stuff. That's what you give realtor credits for. Okay. Other ideas. Mike, when else do you give a realtor credit?
We do our Hometown Heroes program.
Perfect. Well, that's a realtor credit, right? So he has that taken off. You have it taken off their HUD on the HUD for cash to close typically.
Yep.
Okay. So that's on there. So if Mike does 20%, that's going to be $2,400 off, right? And then Mike's going to charge. Do you waive the fees for that, Mike? Typically, nope. So he's going to charge 175, let's say. So he's going to do 12,000.
I don't think VA allows you to charge the transaction fee, do they?
Yeah.
A VA loan.
It doesn't matter. They may not be doing a VA loan, but we've never had a problem with that. Yeah, VA won't let them. The only thing I know VA won't let them pay is the WDO.
Ryan,
Okay.
one more thing.
Yes. Hold on. Well, let me finish this example.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So he's down from 12,000 to 9,600 plus 175. So the total due to FRI here is 9,775, if my math is right, and it always is. And then so 175 here, and the 9,600 goes to Mike. Okay. Everybody got that? Fair enough. Fantastic. All right. Go ahead with your next question, Russian.
What if there is a, like the sellers is paying something to the buyers at the closing as a cash, so that will not come here. That is between the buyers and the.
That's going to be on the ALTO, the settlement statement, the HUD, whatever people want to call it. That is going to be a credit. A seller is going to credit the buyer a concession for repairs or for closing costs or whatever. It's not something that's happening right now very often, but it is out there. And that is done on the settlement statement. It's done before. It's usually part of the contract. Title usually already has that on the settlement statement as a seller debit, buyer credit.
So we fill that too, the settlement statement?
No. The title company does that.
Oh, okay. So we have nothing to do with that, right?
Correct. Well, you review it and make sure everything's right on there.
I mean, you need to have the addendums and everything, right? Signed by the sellers and the buyers.
Yeah, and you give all those to title.
Okay.
All right. And they make it all happen. It's all the magic. That's what we pay them for. That's what the buyers and sellers pay them $500 a piece for at the closing table, plus their title fees, plus.
Okay. Got it. Thank you,
All right.
Ryan. Thank you so
You bet.
much.
You bet. Mike, did you have something else to say on this? You look like you wanted to say something else on
I did. Make sure when they send out the sheet that goes over to the title company that it is correct, because we just had that one recently where they took the gross commission instead of the total to fry and use that number.
Yeah, we've had the people in our office make mistakes. You guys make mistakes. We recently had one of the people make a mistake and give us they were getting actually 3% from MLS and they gave us one for 2.5, which in that case, we executed it properly. And the title company, instead of the 3% that they knew that we were supposed to get, they changed it to 2.5 to help out their seller friend or whatever.
Wow.
And so they had actually sent the documents for a mail away, emailed them to them with 3% on it. When we sent in our 2.5 CDA, which in this case wasn't our fault, it was one of the agent's faults, one of our agent's faults. We sent it in, they corrected his documents and sent it back to short her 0.5%, which was $1,250 or something. So, but they corrected when we called them on it. A seller, at every closing, a seller signs something that says, if there's been an error here in my favor, I'm going to cooperate and give the money back. And so that is the exact purpose for this. You guys have seen that at closing tables before. That's the exact purpose of it, stuff like this. Although that wasn't so much an error as it was, oh, lucky you, here's, let me correct your paperwork, because they only want they're turning down this other 0.5% just because of a clerical error. And I told them, Michael, I have to send you the email I sent the lady. It was a very nice lady, by the way. She got it handled right away. But I told them if we put 5% on there, you wouldn't have paid us double. You know, you wouldn't have paid us 5%. If we added an extra zero to our commission, instead of getting 6,500, we were getting 65,000. You wouldn't have paid us that, right? You would have corrected us on that. So,
find a title company that'll do that. Let me know. I'll use them.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We'll do it every time. But how do you, I mean, guys, if you turn your CDA in or we mess it up somehow and it's $10 off, title companies are supposed to let us know, say, hey, we're off. Title companies are in the business of making the numbers match, right? It has to be even. If you look at settlement statement, that's why they call it settlement. It's dead even at the bottom, right? That they make it work. That's not, the numbers are very important. So they just gave that money to the seller thinking that nobody was going to notice that their check was light. So,
Ryan, can you repeat what did Mike refer to? He was breaking up. I could not hear what he said, that make sure you should do that.
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't listening.
When
Mike, what'd you say?
I said, when the office sends these out, make sure you review that also, just to make sure it's correct. We had one where they used the wrong number.
Yeah, there's two reasons we copy you guys on them when we send them back. We will send them to the title company. We send them to you. Two reasons. The main reason is, I'll go with Mike's reason is the second reason, to make sure they're right, that you agree with what you wrote, because they should match what you wrote. I mean, they should match exactly what you wrote. But the main reason is because a lot of times the title company they don't care to get your checks to you, or if they have to mail. A lot of people don't, or mail them to us and let you get paid later. This is something they do as a favor to you guys. Something we do as a favor to you guys, get you paid at the closing table. Those of you who have been in the business as long as I have, remember when you would get a check and you had to drive it over to your broker's office and wait 3 weeks for them to pay you whenever they felt like it? Now you guys get paid at the closing table. Awesome. In fact, now you're so lazy you don't even go to the closing table, even before COVID. So don't act like it's COVID. So now this is a great thing for you guys, but title companies, they don't care. They want to get the deal closed and get on to the next deal, and they're busy and they're this and they're that. In fact, when we ask them to write 4 checks, it's more of an annoyance to them than it would be just to write FRI a check and let us figure it out. So that's why we copy you too. A lot of times, and Mike and Teresa and a bit Tammy, you have had to carry yours in there, your CDA in there, and say, well, I know you guys didn't get it, but look, it's right here on my phone. I'll email it to you now, right? So that happens. So you guys have it, and you guys can email it to them, or you can, like Mike said, you can look it over and say, oh, that's not my revised one. I sent one in, an hour ago. So you guys, when you do revised ones, make sure you mark them. Don't put number 2. Put revised in capital letters so it really stands out to everybody. So we know to scrap the first one and resend the second one.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments on this? Do we feel like we have a good handle on this, guys? the commission disbursement request form? Good, yeah, okay, good.
Ryan, I have a question.
Yes.
Hey, it's Ada. Hi. So I'm working with a buyer from out of state for a new build. So this will be my first new build, so I don't know exactly how the commission part works. So if we get under contract for something that is going to build now and is going to be finishing in about a year, when do we get paid?
I'm glad you brought that up because I saw that same email you guys all got this morning. I want to talk about that a little bit. When
Yeah.
you get paid in a year.
Okay.
And you're lucky to get that right now. You're lucky you're getting paid at all. And that's what we're about
I
to
know,
talk
right?
about.
Wait a minute, is this a new build that's a standard builder in a community, or is this a new build?
Standard, yes. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
and yeah, you get paid a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a time. So part of the reason Mike might have asked it, there was a time when you got paid, they would pay you a little bit up. They used to come. Well, I started with this company a little over 6 years ago. They used to come 3, 4, 5 years ago. They would come to our office with cookies. They would leave their little communities and come to our office with cookies to beg to talk with you guys.
Yep.
You know, beg to come to our open forums, which at that time we were doing 10 or 15 people typically at a time from office to office, which was great because I only had to have a new subject like every 8 weeks, but now I have to have one every week. So but they would come in there and beg, bring cookies and do all this stuff. And I was gaining weight because it was awesome. They would come in every day. David Weekly, here comes Leonard. Sometimes they'd be there at the same time, dropping off cookies and wanting to meet with you guys, begging you for your business. 8%, 6%. You guys remember these days, right? 6%, $5,000 bonus. And if you do 3, you get $15,000 extra for that last one. Just giving you guys money. Now they don't want to see your ugly faces around their place. Just, you know, they want to take they don't need you. So that email that went out this morning, 18, do you guys see it's down 18% new home sales, or down 18% new home closings? Not because demand is down, because they can't build the houses fast enough. They don't want you bringing them clients. So when you do, you make sure they know you brought them. I don't care if you have to handcuff yourself to them, whatever you want to do. Take a selfie out in front of the model, in the model. There's one of you guys somebody posted on a Facebook group that now Hanover, you have to actually take them in the model, hold their hand in the model.
Ryan Holmes too. Ryan Holmes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ryan Holmes is only paying $4,500. It went from 5 down $4,500 for your commission.
I don't know if I told you guys 4 or 5 years ago, a guy I used to work for years ago went into Watermark down in Horizons West, and he called me after and say, "Hey, do you mind splitting a commission with me? I just put your name down as my realtor." I had no idea he was going. I wasn't where I didn't know he was looking for a house, whatever. He bought a house. I got $6,000 just for saying yes and like signing 3 forms as they came over as the deal. You guys know how selling new houses, you got like 2 or 3 things to sign as it goes along. Those days are gone. Those are the days that they were begging for us to bring people. So when he went in there and said, "Yeah, I've got a realtor, Ryan Langley," that's days gone by, and days that will come again. So you guys go ahead, because I know you're going to forget all these builders who treated you the worst. Go ahead and write their names down somewhere so you remember when this time's turn around, because this is not, they don't value you. They don't value what we do. They don't value that you just showed them 15 other houses and wrote 5 other offers and didn't get any of them. And then they just stopped by there on Sunday on the way home from church and bought a new house without you. They don't appreciate that. And I'm sure you don't either.
Yeah. I was actually asking that because, say, Tammy's situation where it's a custom home being built, when we did the one in Windermere, we actually got paid on the first draw on that one from the builder. Yeah.
So there's something
yeah, it was, yeah. So we wrote that into our commission agreement with that builder. We get paid on the first draw, but it's a little different situation. The buyer already owned the property or bought the property. So, but just keep that in mind.
I don't know how different that situation is because of that, Mike. I think that's something she could negotiate. She could have negotiated,
absolutely,
half her commission or a third of it up
front
on the first draw or whatever it is. That first draw is a very lucrative one for them. It allows them to get a lot of materials and stuff like that. A lot of times it's because they've done the site work, which is mostly labor and not a lot of material. So they get a little bit cash
We
flush. on
also
that
have
first draw.
impact fees, which he was telling me is quite hefty these days. The impact fees he's got to pay, whether he's telling me a line or not, I don't know. But
Depends on what county they're in.
Yeah, I think the first draw on this one was actually to get started, and it was rather large. It was about a $700,000 or $800,000 draw on the first one. But it was just to get started. Well, it was, the home was
Well,
$3.
yeah. Typically they're like 30, 40, 50,000, something like that
Yeah.
for a regular house.
But I did ask.
Impact fees are typically $12,000 to $20,000 around here.
Mhm.
That depends on the county.
I did ask Ryan Holmes because I had a guy that really didn't want me to go with him because he could handle it by himself. He'd spec'd out homes years ago, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, I just can't push myself on him any longer, And so I told Ryan Holmes that I was working with him, but some people don't even feel like they need us to sit there to write up a contract or to pick stuff out. They can do that on their own. But anyway, the buyer brokerage agreement, I said, well, if I had a buyer brokerage agreement signed with him, would that be sufficient? And she said, no, it wouldn't have been.
No,
They don't care.
they don't care.
Yeah,
They're just gonna
because
run
the guy
over it.
last week, the title company guy, he said that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. Just on that premise alone, I would get that thing signed because that's the most frustrating thing, but I don't know that it really will work.
Nope, builders don't care.
Yeah.
They don't have to.
Oh. So keep that in mind. Because in 2-3 years, they'll be back begging you guys. They have machines that have to keep being fed. So they'll be back. Okay, any other questions on anything?
Yeah, question.
Oh, yeah.
Inspection. On the contract, you have 10 days inspection, right? That's your inspection period.
I think
Now
it's 15 if it defaults, but you put 10 days?
Yeah, let's say for example, I'm the selling agent, the buyer's agent, they have 10 days inspection. Now they have 10 days to do an inspection and send the inspection addendum to me before 10 days. That's correct?
Yes.
Now, do they have to get a response within that 10 days?
Okay, so sending an addendum it does not get them out of the deal, does not cancel the deal.
They need to have a cancellation clause in there in case you don't respond in 10 days or
Correct.
It just roll over as accepted inspection after 10 days. It just becomes accepted. I mean,
yeah,
there's nothing to repair.
If they tried to renegotiate, technically you might be right here, but if they tried to renegotiate, typically that's letting you know that they're not happy with the deal. But legally, I believe, I'm not a lawyer, but I believe legally they're out of luck. If I ask you for $2,500 because I didn't like the inspection, or I ask you to fix the faucet, whatever, and you don't respond or do it, then I've given up on my inspection. I better get a response from you. That's why when I'm doing that, if depending on my leverage in the deal and how my clients feel about the house, I will send an addendum for $3,000 and a cancellation and say, have your client sign one or the other.
Yep.
I explain
what happened?
I explain it to my client that I hate putting that clause in there because it sounds really harsh, but we can ask for these repairs. And if we don't hear an answer on day 9, we can send that cancellation. Or if they don't want to do any of this stuff, I mean, if you're okay, if they said no to what you're requesting and you're still going forward with the deal, then I wouldn't even put that cancellation clause in there. So it's kind of like
what she did, which I don't think it's correct, but that's why I want to ask you to make sure, is what she said was, I have 10 days to do an inspection, right? Okay. Normally my understanding was, okay, you have 10 days, you did your inspection. Now you have 10 days to get back to me to say if there's any repair or not.
You're gone. You dropped.
That's okay. Inspection, you accept the inspection. Now the buyer's agent thinks, and this is what she said, well, I'm staying within my contract. I need an answer before 10 days.
Yep.
So I said, well, that is not, correct me, that is not correct, because you're saying you have 10 days to get back to me with any repairs, but I don't have to get back to you within 10 days. The answer to that, right? It could be 11 days or 12 days.
If she says, no, you're not extending that. So if she says that we're going to cancel if you don't, if she said in writing that we're going to cancel if you don't acquiesce to our demands, that's the same thing. That's canceling the contract.
Yeah.
She's
No, not cancel. She didn't. No, she's not saying cancel. She just want an answer to the repairs within 10 days.
So what's going on, Idul? Tell us what's actually happening here.
No, what happened is, what my question is, okay, you have 10 days to do the inspection, right? You do the inspection after 10 days. If you don't come back, then it's accepted. But within 10 days, like the 9th day, you said, okay, I need this done before the 10 days. Before the inspection period ends, you give the repair addendum.
Correct.
Right? Now, you did, the buyer side is under contract. Now, 10 days pass, the sellers can come back after 10 days and say, okay, I'm not going to do it. And then you can cancel the contract. Or like you said, after 10. But you don't have to give an answer within the 10 days, correct? The seller.
No, but the buyer needs to make a decision if they're going to go forward, because once 10 days passes, your
Correct.
buyer's screwed.
Correct. So they can
Yeah,
say either repair or cancel before the 10 days.
Yeah.
Adul, think of it this way. You have 10 days to negotiate out the repairs. Total
That's it.
negotiation, your response, their response, everything. You have 10 days for that period. I'll give you an example. We had one for an out-of-town buyer. They had the inspection done. And after seeing the inspection report, they waited, we had 10 days, just so happened to be. And they waited 8 days to have the inspection done. We got the report on day 9. And after seeing the report, they decided they wanted to do a mold inspection also. We requested a 5-day extension on that repair, on that, just for the mold. And the seller was kind of him-hawing over it and everything else. And we're on day 10 and they're still him-hawing over it. Well, we have no choice. They're not giving us an answer. They weren't responding to us. 10 o'clock that night, I sent over a release and cancellation form to the seller's listing agent and to the title company that was listed on it. So they knew this came in before midnight, because once midnight hit, my buyer had no choice. Yeah,
Right.
it's accepted. So that's negotiation. That's everything. So yeah, you have to respond within 10 days.
You have to be completely happy with the deal by the 10th day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you need to get out. So
That's exactly what
that's what it
Colin
is.
told us.
Yeah.
Now, if you get, let's say, for example, on the 9 days, or let's say the 10 days, let's say it's tonight, midnight, inspection ends. So they're giving you an answer today to get an answer.
Who are you talking about? The sellers give an answer today?
No, the buyer wants an answer today. Today's the inspection period.
Of course they want an answer today. They want an answer today, or they're going to send you a cancellation, like what Mike went through on that.
Like I just
talked
did.
about.
Right.
There was a day 10, and on that 10th day, Mike, even while they were him and hawing, Mike was saying, "Hey guys, we need an answer. We need an answer. We need an answer." And they hemmed and hawed, and so Mike had to cancel. So if your seller hems and haws, and they're going to cancel by tonight, unless they're just asleep at the wheel. It doesn't sound like they're completely asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
So they're going to cancel tonight if they don't hear back.
And
They could, if they really want the house, they'll ask for an extension of the inspection period until your guy wants to respond.
But that has to get signed too before the,
Correct.
like Rick said,
Yeah. So I would send a cancellation and an extension and say sign one or the other, or the addendum, sign something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that we're sending the cancellation and we're out.
The lesson to take away: buyer agents need to get that inspection scheduled ASAP, get that report back, get the negotiations underway. Don't wait a week to get the inspection done.
Correct.
You're not gonna have good results negotiating starting on day 9.
Right.
Because now this guy's going to want to go out there and have his own, a lot of times before they answer, they want to go out and have their own estimates done. Because I don't know if this is a $5,000 problem or $18,000 problem or a $500 problem. So I want to go get my own estimate done. We had one recently with one of you guys, he's not on here, but he had a power situation, what do you call the power by Pacific?
Scanner box, electric panel.
Yeah, the electric panel situation where they had wired around the electric panel somehow. And somebody went out there and told him it was a $7,100 problem. And he called one of his buddies, who's an electrician, and he went out there and it was a $2,200 problem. And so it makes a big difference when you're negotiating repairs, right? So,
Yeah.
So it was, and it, you know, one of the agents had told their client that the whole house could burn down, which is technically true about the house I'm in right now. So, but you don't tell people that. But regardless of that, people want time to negotiate these things because they're going to get their own estimates.
Just a case in point on mine, when I mentioned that I sent it to the title company and the list agent on that for the cancellation, the seller did come back and say he wasn't signing that cancellation and release form unless we would give him half the deposit back. He got to keep half the deposit, and the title company backed us up and said, no, they have 10 days according to the contract. And unless you can come up with a better reason to hold half of this, we can't legally hold it. They were within their 10 days when he sent this.
Mm-hmm.
So
Some title companies won't do that though, unless both parties have signed.
this one did.
I think title companies that have an attorney, something with, or if it's held with an attorney, they will do it.
Yeah, and it was an attorney title company, kind of like Nishad's place. So yes.
Tammy.
Yeah.
Mike, any of you guys who do enough business, get a title company like what Mike has. Get a title company that will back you up and make the call on a clear legal call that an attorney will do that a lot of people won't. Is it's a clear legal call. If somebody backs out on the 4th day after they signed a contract, it's very obvious. Yet some people, some title companies say, nope, you guys might go to court. You better figure this out. And it's complete and absolute garbage. It is a lack of anybody wanting to stick their neck out to do the right thing. Malvis, are you drinking or am I drinking? Why is this room spinning?
I'm sorry. I'm getting my hair done, so I can't.
Oh, you're getting your hair done. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
No problem. No problem. You had a question though, Malvis, about
I did.
VA. Yeah, I see.
Yes.
VA appraisals should not be lower, but VA appraisals are going to demand repairs. The house has to be completely livable, like there's very similar to FHA appraisals. So it's going to have to be completely livable, and they stick with the property for 6 months. So only for other VA or FHA deals. So
what about for stuff that are not permitted?
Why do you always have questions like this?
I don't, because
where do you find these people? No.
Just because, you know,
you've got more unpermitted stuff going on in your life.
Yeah.
So
no permits open though. No permits open that I'm aware. Okay. Just some.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You talked to me about it the other day.
Yes.
I doubt that they're going to look at that.
Yeah.
Meaning, you know, it's okay for a viewer.
Everyone who's a regular viewer of our Wednesday program knows what you're talking about, and because we talked about it last week. But I don't think they're going to notice that. But if they do, then they do, and they may make it get permitted.
Okay, but it's a myth that VA appraisals are lower than FHAs or conventionals.
I have not seen any evidence that is a trend of any kind. Anybody see anything differently? They're just a pain because they make you fix everything before closing. You can't do concessions for a lot of stuff that you might want to do concessions. The seller has to actually spend the money and get it fixed before closing. Okay.
Okay.
So it takes that option away, which is one of my favorite options in the world, is just tell me how much money you want, because the chances of my seller fixing it to your specifications and everybody being happy with that is not as good as it is to just give you $5 grand or $2 grand or $1 grand or $800, whatever it is.
But as far as getting stuff permitted, that could be any financing, not just not just FHA or VA.
Probably. I've told you this before. I don't imagine this is ever going to be a problem.
Okay.
But it might. Right. But I don't think it is.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm going to mute myself back up.
Okay. Okay. Enjoy your hair. I'm headed there too.
Me too.
See,
Mine was
All right.
yesterday.
And any other questions or comments about any of this stuff? You guys are doing great, but that's an important thing, guys. Find a title company that will have your back. And a lot of times you don't, obviously if you have the buyer, you don't get to choose, but a good title company, make sure they have your back for when you do have sellers. Okay. What else? I mean, some of you guys do a lot of business and you do it because the lady at the front desk is so nice and your person on the phone is so nice and stuff. But when it comes down to actually making decisions about money, they won't do it for you. And a lot of times you don't know until you, just like any relationship you have with people, you don't know how strong it is until you actually hit some hard waters, right? Until you hit some, that's not a saying, you hit hard times, right? And then you find out how good your friendship is and how good your relationship is. It's not, it's the same with title companies or anybody else that you do business with.
Yeah, but what if they dispute that? You know, I mean,
Then you go to court. If it's a title company that's holding the escrow, then you go to court. If it's a brokerage holding it, you go to FREC.
right. But if you know, if I guess the title company will feel more comfortable enough to say, I don't care if you're disputing it, the contract states this and returns it.
It's typically it's going to be an attorney-run company or a company with attorneys on staff that are going to say, yeah, this is a clear legal call I can make, right? It's not going to be a title processor who, you know, it's not going to be a title. It's going to be someone.
Don't most title companies have an attorney? Aren't they usually?
Most of them have them either attorney-run or an attorney on staff. Yeah, yeah, and they will make calls on clear stuff like that. You start getting into financing contingencies and stuff like that, they're more careful. But inspection period cancellations where it says buyer may in their sole discretion cancel its contract for any reason, they will make the call. If the ones who won't make a call, the ones who won't make the call and if you've got a 10-day inspection period and you cancel on day 5 and they won't make the call, do not ever go to them again. I mean, what good are they? I mean, we can all make that call. My son's 14 can make that call by reading the contract and say, yeah, it looks like the buyer can do this.
Yeah.
Okay. So everything's in writing, everything's clear. Now you start getting into the day 28 of your financing contingency and you don't really have a denial letter. You might have approval. The lender sent you something that looks like a conditional approval and blah, blah. You start getting into that and then I get that, right? But inspection period stuff is easy breezy.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
Samara speaking. So I was supposed to close today, but they did not receive the payoff letter for the HOA estoppel. So my question is, this is my first time representing the listing side. Is it my job to drop the paperwork for an extension or is it the buyer's job? Like, what do I do now?
It is your job if your client is at fault, is my opinion of this. I would draw up the paperwork for the extension because it's on my buyer. It's not your seller's fault per se, but it's on their side.
Okay.
The seller has to provide and pays for the estoppel letter.
Right.
So I would go ahead and do it. And you want to make sure it gets done. And I knew you were having a closing today because you turned in your CDA yesterday.
Right. It's okay.
We love that. No, it was great. You did a great job. And
we're learning as we go, Ryan. We're learning.
I know you're doing great. So that's fine. You draw it up.
Was that a title company mess up or was that the HOA issue?
I think what happened was the lady that I was working with, she actually went on maternity leave and did not notify us that she went on maternity leave. So I think a lot of her tasks were kind of just left in the air. So when the new processor came, you know, she was reaching out to me like, what did Maria do? And I'm like, I don't know what Maria did, you know? So I think it's just a bit of miscommunication. And then this is my first, you know, time doing it as well. So I think it's just mistakes all around.
And Tamara, you chose that title company?
I did. They have really Celebration Title. I've heard really good things about them from a lot of realtors. Yeah. So I wasn't, you know, really expecting it, but
yeah, we've had good actions with Celebration Title also too.
They're a big company.
Right.
But things fall through the cracks. Yes, it's the title company's fault, probably, but that should have been ordered weeks ago.
Exactly. That's
I
what
don't know
I'm
when
saying.
she went on maternity leave, but that should have
Yeah.
been ordered weeks ago.
You should have,
So,
yeah.
yeah, it's on your side. Typically, and for all we know, and my first reaction was it's probably the HOA's fault, because the HOA management's fault, because they are the only ones not incentivized to get this closed.
Right.
They're
But
gonna
the thing
get
of it is your buyer financed? Are they a financed buyer?
Yes.
Because they have a rate lock they have a rate lock thing. If you extend it, their rate lock may be expiring. There might be some problems on that side of the deal too for the buyer.
So it
So
may
she
cost your
just told
seller,
me
it may
she
cost your
said-
seller some money, or it may cost them the deal. Probably not the deal in this market, but it probably costs them a little bit of money to say, look, I've got to pay $500 more for rate lock, or how many ever dollars a day or whatever it is.
Okay. I mean, how will I know?
But I wouldn't bring that up. Don't bring that up.
No.
Just send them the extension.
Okay. So can I call you after we're done so you can kind of like walk me through this? Or you want to do it now?
You can call me after we're done. Okay. You can call me after we're done. There's not much to it.
Okay.
Do they know when they're going to get the estoppel? They don't even have it yet? So you don't even know if it's going to take 5, 7, 10 days to get the estoppel at this point.
Yeah, you need to find out when it was ordered.
Yeah.
She just ordered it. She said she gave me an estimated time of it should be in by Friday, but she said she wouldn't schedule the closing until Monday just to make sure that all the paperwork is in.
Okay. That's pretty quick turnaround for an estoppel. So I'd be happy with that if that happens.
We have
Somebody's going to be paying an extra fee for that.
Yeah. Yeah. The title company's going to eat that and make sure they eat that fee.
Yeah.
Because they didn't order it.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I'll talk to you after. It's just go on transaction desk like I was before. Pull up extension addendum, and you can do it that way.
Okay, we'll do.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, hi Ryan.
Yeah, hey Joy.
Hi, I'm out and about, so I'm sorry. I have an appraisal, one of my deals that came out really low, and it's at 306, and the property was listed at 336. So, and the buyer is willing to go ahead with the transaction. So, have you ever had any scenario like that before?
That a buyer is going to pay over appraisal?
Yes, almost 20,000 over appraisal.
Okay, good. Tell them bring the money to closing. That's what I mean.
They don't have the money to closing, so they want to make an agreement.
Also, they're not going forward with the deal. I thought you said they were going forward with the deal. They're not going forward with the deal then if they don't have the money.
They are going over the deal, but the seller is comfortable with them making like an arrangement, like a promissory note. So, and I don't want to be involved with that. So
do that with a mortgage.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tammy.
You cannot do that. They're getting a mortgage. Yeah. You can't do that.
Big no.
The seller needs to come down on the price, or they bring additional cash, or come to an agreement of something over maybe appraisal that they can afford, but you cannot do that.
The seller is, I don't know. The lender is okay with it. As long as
Oh my gosh, she might be good in orange. He might look good in orange or stripes.
No. There are some times you can do a second. You can do a second, but it has to be behind the first. The seller would be. You represent the buyer, right, Joy?
I represent the buyer. Yes.
Okay, the seller would be crazy to do that, but that's if they want to, they can.
So he's desperate to sell.
If I were the seller, I would. Well, they're not that desperate, or they lower it to appraisal.
Right. Why don't they just lower it to the appraised value?
Well,
he's willing to go up to 320 and nothing lower than that. So because he's done a lot of upgrades, so he wants to get his money back.
Okay. So here's the deal. The seller, there are some cases where you can do this, but the seller, obviously, it's going to be the original loan is going to take priority. This loan is going to be subservient to that loan, and so if there's nothing they can do if the buyer doesn't want to pay it. The buyer can say, forget it on the first month, never paying you. Good luck. See you later. They can say that when they walk out of closing. They can say, It was really nice meeting you guys. I'll never see you again, never pay you a dime. And there's nothing that the seller can do about it. So the seller's crazy to do that.
What if
but they
the
can't.
seller draws up some type of a mortgage and it's
It
recorded?
doesn't matter. They can't foreclose on the bank.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Bank has the first mortgage.
But-
So they'd
but
be
if-
crazy to do that. And if it were your seller, Joy, I would say, do not do this, run. But if you got the buyer, and it would be best if buyer, if they're going to do this, that they go ahead and pay it. But yeah, they can draw up a promissory note, either not related to the property or as a second to the property.
Right.
And good luck to the seller.
The seller doesn't have a listing agent, so he's selling this on his own. So
Oh,
that's another thing. So
Well,
okay.
and now you got another problem because you've got the duty to act fairly and honestly and let them know
Right.
that this is not going to be a mortgage on the property. It's going to be a
I
promissory
can
note,
hear.
which is the same as when I borrowed lunch money from Mike one time and I still haven't paid him back.
All right. Thank you.
I piqued Mike's interest now. All right. So
You say you owe me money? It's
he was sleeping until I said that. Any other questions or comments? That's a great question, Joy. And that's an interesting situation. And I almost wish you get another appraisal. That seems crazy. I mean,
We are actually, they have asked for another appraisal, so they're willing to pay for that. So yes.
that is the best thing, really. I mean, the best thing for your buyer is to go ahead and sign this nonsense promissory note, but the best thing for everybody is to get that.
Can you provide any other comps, like to?
I have.
Yeah.
Right. I was almost trying, I tried to redo all the comps and present that to the lender and see if there's a way we can they can redo the appraisal, but nothing concrete is coming up with that. So I think the seller is going higher because of all the upgrades he's done on the house. So I don't know. So, but they're going to have another appraisal done and everybody's going to be clear on that. So, yeah.
Good. I think that's a good resolution to it, hopefully. At least it'll eat up some of that money, 10 grand or 15 grand or something.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
Any other
you.
questions or comments? Oh, all right, guys. Well, I'll see you guys soon. We'll see you next week. We're going to have a special guest next week. It escapes me right now who it is, but I remember we have one. I will let you guys know and have a great week.
Isn't it Rick?
See ya.
Not Rick. We just had Rick.
Oh,
Rick was going to come back though, I think, but it wasn't Rick next week.
okay.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.